clouds will move. It's time for you to smile again. Come on, Sean. I believe my family will get better. I believe God will provide. I believe the promise that He made. Oh, I believe. Oh, it's already done. The blessing is yours. God's already pre-approved you for it. Come on, Zacardi. I believe that my God is a healer. Yes, He is. And I believe that I will survive. Oh, I believe that God is able. Oh, I believe. I know it is already done. The word tells us that if any two of us shall agree on anything on earth, that God will do it for us in heaven. And I know sometimes life has a way of knocking you down to the point where you can't even pray for yourself. But today, I want to agree with you that it's getting ready to get better. And right now, we are giving your problems an expiration date. And we're saying it's over. That you've been crying long enough. That you've been worried long enough. That you've been struggling long enough. And I believe that God's going to do it for you. Fire, take it up. I believe God will fix it. Yes, He will. If you just believe. Oh, it's got to get better. Talk to him, Sean. I know you've been crying at night, but I came by to let you know that it's gonna get better. To the single parents. Go in the room and grab your children. Put your arms around them and let them know it's gonna get better. Yes, I do believe. Yes, I do believe. You need to call somebody right now and tell them God's gonna do it. We've been made. Oh, we do it for a night. Oh, John. If you don't remember anything else, I believe. Remember this. Your storm is over. I believe. Your rain is gone away. Clouds have moved. I believe that you'll make it through it. Oh, I believe. Ooh, it's already done.
Oh, yes, I believe that the storm is over. And I truly believe that the storm was actually over for the cricketers, who they're calling branded a rebel. That is the 18 West Indian cricketers who went to South Africa 30 years ago. And they went 30 years ago because they wanted to feed their families and earn money that was not going to be earned by anyone in that era. Over $100,000 most of them got for their service. But then again, you see, I think we live with an unforgiving spirit. And it truly hurts and pains my heart that after 30 years, CNN was the only media organization that decided to find all of these guys and interview them. Some of them refused, like my good friend Lawrence Rowe, who I've always supported from day one with this whole incident of going to South Africa. These guys are not politicians. They're athletes. And I do believe, just as I believe that your storm is over, that those guys going to South Africa did something. Because if you notice, they might not have thought at the time that they were missionaries or making any impact or anything of that nature. But apartheid came apart shortly after that. Okay? So we just wonder and I think about the fact that it was not just Lawrence Rowe and his team that went to South Africa. You had England going there first. They were the first set of rebels. Then there was Sri Lanka. Then there was Australia. And then they were the best because it took them so much longer to get the best cream of the crop, which was the guys from the West Indies, to go there. And when I watched that documentary over the weekend on CNN International, it just broke my heart and brought up all the anger I felt at the time when I did come out and support them. And everyone was ostracizing them and saying bad things. But do we sit back and do we think that we are not God? And those guys, they're not politicians. They were not there to fight your cause. They were there to make a living for their families. They were not there to fight apartheid. They did not create it, and they did not made it come to an end. They probably made a positive contribution, in my opinion, to make it come to an end. Because you had white people flowing into the stadium in droves to see them play. And I am only regretting this morning that my good friend Lawrence Rowe did not get to speak his mind, because like him and a lot of the others that were scattered all over the world, they didn't want to dredge up the whole thing again. But it needs to be dredged up, you see, because if you think about it, let's go down this. England, the players got 3 years of suspension. In Australia, they got 2 years suspension. In Sri Lanka, they got 25 years. But you see, the West Indies, in their pomp and pageantry, decided to do a lifetime ban of people who were so talented and did absolutely nothing wrong. But they were punished because of people who believe they have power over other people. And this is the point I say, welcome to you from around the world and in the United States. This is the Diana Wright Show live online. This is what I do on the weekends. I try to watch things because that's the time I have to just relax a little and take in some TV and go into, you know, some programs that nobody else probably watches, but I do. And some movies that, you know, are kind of obscure, but I watch them. And I'll get to the one I watched this weekend in a minute. But I am truly, truly, truly in an unbelievable state of mind that after 30 years, we still are punishing these guys for going to South Africa. For what? Everybody's going to South Africa now. Everybody's going up there to invest and do business, and, you know, things are great and whatever. So why are we still continuing to punish these men who only went to South Africa for the money to take care of their families? The West Indies wasn't paying them any amount of money that South Africa could pay. And it's not about the money. We don't need sports people fighting battles of diplomacy or political problems for the world. They are athletes with talents, and they need to be allowed to play and do their business without getting into the political realm. Now, the documentary consisted of a lot of people talking, like Clive Lloyd, the captain of the West Indies. He spoke, and yes, I understood what he said. He said he didn't want to go because he, at the time, was thinking about apartheid and all of that. But that's his personal opinion to think about that, and his personal preference to refuse to go. And then there was Viv Richards, who said it was blood money. Yes, and it's blood money. That's what you thought, and that's what you think. So it's your personal opinion. But why should we chastise people for the choices that they make when it has nothing to do with us? It's their business. It's just like LeBron James leaving Ohio to come to Miami. Everyone wanted to crucify him. Everyone prayed for him to lose. But God is bigger than us, you see. And you see how much LeBron James is shining and how much LeBron James is doing great things. What are they, 18-0 right now? And he saved most of the games with his talent. Because we should allow people who are talented to do what they're talented to do, and not try to usurp them with responsibilities and burden them with being, role models for our children. That's not their purpose. Their purpose is to be role models for their own children and not for ours. We should be role models for our own children and stop depending on athletes and celebrities to do it for us. So please, I was even more stirred in my spirit when I learned and saw the pavilion at Sabina Park being named after Lawrence Rowe. And because of pressures about the fact that he went to South Africa 30 years ago, they took it down. I reached out to Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller. That pavilion in honor of Lawrence Rowe need to be reinstated, put back up, because he deserves it as an athlete who is one of our greatest batsmen. He deserves it. He had no business going to fight any political battle in South Africa. He had a business to go and play cricket, which is what he did. So I cannot understand these Jamaican people who are talking about Lawrence Rowe. What else are they doing down there that is so disgraceful and even worse than someone going to South Africa to play a sport? And what I believe right now, my opinion, is that the people in South Africa, the man who organized the team at the time, if he's still alive, he may not be, they should actually get that team together and have them come back to South Africa. And if I had the power to do so, I would get all of those guys together, take them back to South Africa, and give them an opportunity to either play again, okay, play again, and celebrate them. Because what they did, no one should be ostracizing them for it and punishing them for a lifetime of something that they were given a God-given talent to do. And I watched the head of the cricket board of the West Indies. They showed his tape and how adamant he was that they would never play again. I also watched Vic Johnson, who was the Minister of Sports at the time in Barbados, how he was there, happy to say they're banned for the lifetime. Who are these guys? Who gave them this power? And we all should stop trying to have sports people fight our battles for us. Because that's not their purpose. Their purpose is to do what they do. And people expecting so many big things of them when they're just normal people with talent. Okay? So I plead and I just ask you this morning, and if anyone listening out there who knows Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller in Jamaica, please, if you have her ear, tell her Diana Wright says she needs to reconsider and put back that sign up and rededicate that pavilion to Lawrence Rowe. He deserves it. And hence you have all these guys in solitary, and they're banished from their communities. Some of them said they were more afraid to go back to their homelands than they were afraid to go to South Africa. And how dare us try to punish them after 30 years for doing what they were supposed to do, go and play cricket. That's what they know to do. And when I watch David Murray, who looks like a homeless man, and who feels so betrayed and beaten down by his own people in Barbados, how dare us do this to these men who were so talented and brought the West Indies name all over the world in cricket? Most people don't even know what the hell cricket is. And because of these guys, and when you watch them play in South Africa in the clips that were shown on CNN International, you see that they were adored by the people for the first time. White people could see that black men could play cricket and beat the Australian cricketers. And they were all not crazy people with horns and violence. They were sportsmen, they were talented, and they could win. And that's what we need to celebrate. We need to celebrate the victory that they had there. Because for the first time, South African white children were seeing that black men could actually play cricket and do something other than killing people. Stevenson spoke about the fact that, you know, a little white boy came up to him and wanted him to drink from his juice box. And he, knowing where he was, refused. And when the young man persisted, he relented. And then everyone else came up and wanted him to drink from their juice box. So who are we? And why are we continuing to punish these men to do what they know how to do best? Play cricket. I am so proud. I'm so proud of Stevenson, because he seems to be the only one that is celebrating his red jacket that he had going to South Africa. He seemed to be the only one that has found some peace and some joy, because he now has what is he calling it? The Franklin Stevenson Cricket Academy in Barbados. He's also a golf instructor. And I felt so bad for him when he spoke about the fact that he went to Jamaica to play golf and he was refused entry to play golf. And then he went to Trinidad and they would not let him into the country. What kind of people are we? This is just unforgivable for the way we are treating these guys after all they were simply doing was playing cricket. Yes, Clive Lloyd talked about the fact that they should have just said they're going there for the money instead of talking about they're going there to change things. I think they went for both things. And so what if they were going there for the money? Aren't we all working for money? All the people here in America who are sportsmen who get crazy money that they can never ever spend? So what's the problem with that? Maybe they started a trend. Because until then, I never heard any cricketer getting no $100,000 to play cricket. Nowhere. And it wasn't just the West Indies team that suffered, the 18 that went. It was also people like Clive Rice and Graham Pollock, who are South African cricketers. They were banished too in their own country. Pollock seemed to have ridden the waves and became a businessman. But my God, 30 years and we're still punishing someone, and we talk about we're a Christian nation, we're a Christian country in Jamaica. And in the West Indies, we have so many churches, you can't even count them. Where's our forgiveness in our hearts for these guys who only went to play cricket and earned some money for their families? Now, some of the guys, they said, did not want to come on because they wanted to be paid. But I investigated that. It's not that he was looking for money for himself. He was looking for money for everyone coming on. But as you know, CNN does not pay for interviews, so that was not possible. But I think the way they should earn from this is that they should all get together and be invited back to South Africa. Now, in the time that people seem to be free, because have no doubt that South Africa still is not free. It's still apartheid, if you ask me. Because I still see no great gathering of black and white people when I see anything about South Africa. So who are we? And that ban that those West Indian cricket board people, they need to lift that stupid ban. A lifetime ban. How do you dare you lifetime ban anyone for doing something that you probably would have done if you were a cricketer? And then, you know, it just brings me to the word if. I wonder if the head of the West Indies Cricket Board was in Lawrence Rowe's shoes at the time, getting more than $100,000 to go to South Africa. What would he do? That is my if. And I wonder if Vic Johnson, who was then the Minister of Sports in Barbados, if he was so talented and blessed by God to be asked to come play cricket, would he go? If. I saw Tony Cozier on there, who's an announcer who has, you know, I met him in Jamaica. He's the guy with the golden voice who speaks about cricket. So he does all the commentaries. Yeah? And Reds Pereira. Reds Pereira was not on the documentary. But I listened to, you know, a Professor Hilary Beckles of the University of the West Indies. And he made so much sense. When I listened to him speak, and what he was saying just simply made sense. And I listened to the reporter Al Gykes, I think his name is. He's a journalist from Barbados. That was the only journalist that went from the Caribbean, from the West Indies to South Africa to cover. And you could see that they feel such pain for the guys, because they know in their hearts that those guys went there and they did achieve a lot of things that we probably, none of us will ever achieve in our lifetime. Because remember, apartheid came apart years, not less than 10 years after they went there. Who are you persecuting in your life after 30 years? Who are you refusing to forgive after 30 years in your life? I plead with you this morning to release them. Forgive them. Get them off your back. Because when you forgive, it's not the person that's benefiting from the forgiveness. It's you that's cleansing your heart and freeing your spirit and your mind and your soul. Oh my goodness. I watched the documentary twice and then I recorded it. That's how much it burned my spirit. Gregory Armstrong, he was the negotiator, because at the time they were saying that Lawrence Rowe was the negotiator. He wasn't. Gregory Armstrong was the negotiator. And Colin Croft, he had a bad experience, because I guess while he was in South Africa, he must have made a mistake and went to the wrong place, and not realizing that even though they were given status of honorary white, he could not have gone there. And a lot of people were upset about the fact that they were called honorary white. Yeah, I can deal with that. I can hear that. But they were already there, so they just had to play along with the game until they left. And why do we think we have the power to banish someone from the place of their birth because they went to a country with a political policy of apartheid? Why do we think we have the power to do that? These guys were born in these Caribbean islands or Caribbean islands. Why would they have to leave their country? I remember Lawrence Rowe moving to Florida. Yes. Because people in Jamaica were just saying the most vile and ridiculous things at the time. And I'm telling you, it is not fair. It is unfair, and Jamaica needs to fix that foolishness about taking down the banner that, you know, you name somebody's name and then you take it down because of what? Was he a good batsman? Yes, he was. Was he the best? Yes, he was. So why would you want to take the thing down? Whose decision was that anyway, to take it down? Whoever that is a wimp. And I pray that Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller will spend part of her time getting that banner back up. Forget about trying to get rid of the Queen. You need to get in and put Lawrence Rowe back where he belongs, because he deserves it. And he did absolutely nothing wrong by going to South Africa to play cricket, which is what he was good at. And I bet you any money he's still good at it even today as he's older. And to see those guys just, you know, they spoke with such anguish and such pain. Wow. Colin King, he said he had no regrets, and I just applaud him for that. Be honest, speak your mind. I'm just sorry that Lawrence was not there to speak his mind and tell how he truly feels. Because I know that the entire episode and the saga and the ostracizing of the guys truly hurt him and hurt the other guys. And why are we choosing to continue this foolishness after 30 years? 30 years is a long time to hold a grudge. 30 years is a long time to not forgive someone for doing something. And if you were not in their shoes, you have no right to judge them or to speak. So, someone out there listening to me around the world and in the United States, this is the Diana Wright Show live online, and I'm sure someone somewhere has the air of Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller, who can make this right, at least in Jamaica. It's just the same way they treated Merlin Ottey. You know, Merlin Ottey was treated like a bronze queen according to them, but she had great achievement. And it took them a very long time to recognize that. So I think they can fix what they have done by taking down that dedication of his name. And as I speak to you, I'm seeing the banner that I saw on CNN International. A lot of you probably did not see the program because you don't have CNN International on your provider for cable. But I hope and pray that you will all find a way of watching it. It is important to watch and see other people's pain after they've been wronged. And Jamaica has a history, and the Caribbean, the West Indies, whatever you want to call them, of crucifying people and not putting themselves in the position of that person that they're crucifying and saying, what if it were me? What if it was my son? What if it was my daughter? What if it was one of my family members? How would I react? What would I want done? Hence, I'd like for each and every one of you listening to my voice today to think about that. Who are you choosing to hold in your heart with hate and grudge and jealousy and envy? Who in your heart are you persecuting without just cause? I ask you to think about it, please. Wow. Some of them are drug addicts, became drug addicts and alcoholics because of the whole experience of how they were treated when they got back home. How can that be right? How can that be fair to anyone for just going and displaying your talent? And all the governments of the West Indies and the West Indies Cricket Board, you need to fix this. You are not God, chief conqueror and ruler of the world. You have no right to treat someone so bad that they become alcoholic because their spirit is just a little weaker than yours. Or they become drifters. Because looking at Murray, he looked like a homeless man. He said he was living in Australia at the time, and his wife and his young child were pushed out of Australia because they went to South Africa. Look at Australia, the way they treat the Aborigines. Do you think it's any better? And look at America, the way they treat black people. And all that took place in America in the 60s. Let's compare them with South Africa. Yes, South Africa was just, happened to be apartheid is the system. But there was apartheid in America, apartheid in Australia, the way they treat the Aborigines. And we can go down and go around the world and see where the apartheid is. All dark-skinned people are treated differently and given less opportunities. So why do we pretend and wield our power, as I saw the power wielded from the voice and the lips of the then head of the West Indies Cricket Board? And I just sat there and I wondered. And I kept just watching the program. Every time it came on, I kept watching it. I watched it twice, like I said, and recorded it then after. Who knew? My. So, 1983 this took place, and we're still punishing them in 2013. We need to stop. We need to get over it. We need to give them their due that they deserve and that they worked for. And remember, they're not politicians, they're athletes. Okay. Wow. It just burns my heart as I watch that documentary. And I truly believe and wish that I had a bigger bully pulpit, that I could do something to fix this, to replace the banner in honor of Lawrence Rowe, and to reach out to each and every one of those guys. Because I told you, only Stevenson and Collis King that I see look like they're, have not gotten over it, but at least they can speak about it. And they were not even sure they wanted to speak about it because it would have reignited. And I think it should be reignited. The issue should be. Because just the way we treat those guys is the way we treat some of the people around us who are just doing what they do and being who they are. But we punish them for who they are. And it's not right. Welcome once again to the Diana Wright Show live online. The number to call, 561-228-1921. That's 561-228-1921. Just in case you want to give your opinion, you want to think about this. And at any time, because I'm going to be just on this until I see something done. To apologize to these guys for the way they were treated by everyone, especially in their homelands. It was uncalled for and not deserving. And some of us probably just envied them for the money that they were getting, like we do our everyday brothers and sisters for things. What a. Oh my God. And then I watched a movie called Blessed and Cursed, which simply showed me that the church is a place that jealousy lives and breeds and envy and workers of iniquity. That's where it festers and blooms and blossoms. Because you see, the movie that's simply called Blessed and Cursed talked about and showed you a young man who struggled because he was anointed with a gift from God, a gift of singing, a gift of worshiping, a gift of being a great psalmist and a great worship leader, more effective than the bishop that hired him and the preachers of the church. But the same bishop who heard that young man sing while he was walking by on the sidewalk of a construction site near his church, the same bishop who told that young man to come to his church and sing and see the response. But the response was so overwhelming, and he became so loved, and he could get the people to feel the worship and feel the Holy Spirit more than even the bishop could. So it created what is animosity among not just the bishop, but among his group that were already there. One minister in particular went to the bishop and said, "I don't like him." And the bishop simply asked, "How can you have met someone for less than a minute and you don't like them? Give them a chance to prove themselves." But the young man, you see, was so anointed, but he himself struggled and had problems with fornication, which when he got the job to sing at this great megachurch, he told the girl that he was fornicating with that the fornication had to come to an end. She didn't like that. So she kicked him to the curb and left the car in a huff. But he continued on his journey, on his mission that God had anointed him with. But jealousy, envy. The bishop himself became jealous of the brother that he brought into the church because he saw an anointing on him. So it's not just the other preacher. And you can go to any church. You walk in as a new person. You try to help. You do your best. You give. You try to help the church move forward. But what do you get? Haters, envy, jealousy. People willing to stab you in the back for jostling for the love of the preacher. In church. So, as I heard T.D. Jakes say today, some of the people who go to church act like they're holier than God or Jesus himself. And that is a fact. Because he brought to light the fact that God made heaven and earth in the first part of the Bible. And then he also took the rib from Adam and made Eve. And then, where was he? At his first miracle. Jesus was at a wedding celebrating and enjoying himself. And then, that wedding must have been going on for days for them to run out of wine. So he turned water into wine. So, here I am to say to you, the church that you're going to today, how much jealousy, envy, and vicious attacks and workers of iniquity are in that church. And don't tell me you don't know, because you know. Because any church I walk into, give me a week and I'll figure it out. My spirit will tell me what's going on. Who's hiding what? Who's pretending to be what? Who's trying to be the preacher's best friend or the preacher's best love? Undying love? Yeah. It happens in every church, I can say. But some churches worse than others, especially the little ones, the little churches that everybody's jostling for power. And what is that going to do for you when you have that power, please? It doesn't put food on your table. It doesn't take you to where you want to go. It doesn't fulfill your dreams. And it doesn't make you who you are. So why do we insist on making this go on in the churches? And when you go and try to question things, they tell you, oh, church is a hospital. The sick comes here for healing. Well, when I go to church, I don't go sick for no healing. I go to hear the preacher preach and worship and hear the word of God. Yes, and if you get blessed and healed and all of that, then it's worthwhile. But if you go to church and all you experience is caustic people and caustic behavior. Like a girlfriend of mine told me that she went to a church. She's not there anymore. And when she went to that church, she was put on a committee that had to do with flowers and, making the church inside look beautiful. So hence she loves silk flowers, and she had a contact to get large arrangements for less money for the church. And then she goes and she gets these beautiful arrangements in silk. And sometimes those silk flowers look like real, honey. They sure do. But some of the ladies in the church who are there for a long time, and they want to chop your feet off when you're going and you're new and you're trying to help to do anything. And they were saying, oh, why does she bring silk flowers? We like fresh flowers. Okay. And if you so like fresh flowers, which go down the drain after a few days, why don't you go buy them? That was my response when she told me. Just forget about the silk flowers. Take them to your house and let them go buy their own fresh flowers. And that is what is experienced in the church. But getting back to the movie, Blessed and Cursed, the young man had one savior. Because when he got so big, they were moving from every state in America. They were going overseas. He was singing, he was praising, he was worshiping. He was making people fall down and worship God, which is what they're supposed to go to church to do. And when the bishop got so jealous and the other people got so jealous, they took on the bishop's niece, who obviously liked the young man and he liked her, but there was nothing going on. So she warned him. She said to him, "Why don't you leave the church and go someplace else? God will continue to bless you. Because if you stay here, it's just going to get worse." And that's the reason you step away from a church when you feel you're being attacked by just a few people who are power seekers, power grabbers, and trying to hold on to the skirt tail and the pants foot of the preacher and the bishops in their churches. Yeah. So as I watched that, I said to myself, yes, this is one of the reasons that a lot of people are not going to church. Because right in there in that movie, a lot of the people that are on the choir at the time who realized that it was just simple jealousy, because the bishop actually had the guys rehearse for a congregation. And then he went up there after they were waiting backstage. He stabbed them in the back and decided not to bring them on stage, but instead preached a word that all of the congregation was basically booing. But he didn't care, because you see, his wife thought that this young man was bringing the blessing and the worshiping and the Holy Spirit into the sanctuary more than anyone had ever done. So hence you have jealous preachers, jealous bishops, preachers sleeping with the people in the church, fornication, and all the other things that go on in the church. Sometimes you wonder, you go to church and you said, go, go, go. I left the devils outside, but I am here to fight them again. No, I'm not going to church to fight the devil, the demons of human beings. I'm going to church to worship and to praise God and to listen to the sermon. And then whatever scripture they do and preach on that day, which is normally 1 or 2 verses, I will go home and read it for myself. So I plead with you today, what church are you going to? Are you being blessed by going to the church, or are you just going to church to show off your best dress? Or you just don't have any place to go on a Saturday and a Sunday? Why are you going to church? Why do you go to church? Why is there so much pregnancy in the church by fornicators? Why is that? When we young people now have more information than I ever had in my time. I just wonder. And I'm just asking the questions. Food for thought. Provoke your mind and think for yourself. Stop joining into bandwagons of things and be independent minded and be able to speak your mind. If you are upset about something in your church, don't necessarily just walk away. Speak to your bishop, your prophetess, your preacher, your pastor, whatever name you give them, their apostle, whatever. Because sometimes it can be fixed, but most of the times it cannot be fixed. Because if you don't know something, you can't fix it or even try to fix it if it's not fixable. And a lot of these churches, most of the things that go on in there are not fixable because they've been going on for years before you even got there. But anyway, moving right along as we move, continuing in the God realm. As we talk about something that's being said in Rome by one of the cardinals, the will of God is not entirely clear, he said. And this was said by Chicago Archbishop Cardinal Francis George. He said this and is asking for help and prayers as he and 114 other cardinals prepared to enter the papal conclave in Rome to elect a new pope. Cardinal Francis George said, and I'm going to quote him, "I ask for your prayer to help the Holy Spirit to be present among us, to open our hearts and our minds to what is the will of God for his people throughout the world. This is a momentous occasion," he said, "when perhaps the will of God isn't entirely clear to many of us." That's what Cardinal Francis George of Chicago is asking us to do for them today. And as they move on to tomorrow, when the election process will begin, and we will start looking anxiously for the black smoke that means there's no pope selected yet, or the white smoke that indicates, yes, we have chosen a pope. And for people like Archbishop Cardinal coming from New York, Dolan, who's acting like he's some rock star or something, talking about he needs what he said he needed? Socks. He wants green ones because he has too many red already. Okay, Mr. Dolan, he's the one who's here, who's on radio and talking against President Obama and doing all those things. Well, people are saying he might be selected. I don't think so. I'll just be saying I don't think so. No. So on this momentous occasion, which begins tomorrow, we will all begin to pray, whether you're Catholic or not, for the selection of a new pope. And I hope they get it done in a hurry, because they've been there talking to each other. They must know who they're going to vote for. Don't act like it's a whole big secret. They all in their little hearts know who they're voting for. So they just need to go there tomorrow and get it done by Wednesday or Thursday. That's my order. How about that? To the cardinals in Rome, in the conclave, you need to get it done. And we will pray for you. And we hope that you will pick the right pope, the young enough pope that we don't have to go through this process very shortly. Even though no one knows whether you're young or old when you're going to die. Only God knows that through his son Jesus. Okay, alrighty. Well, I'm going to move to something a little nicer now, because you see, if you are wealthy or you're not wealthy, wealthy people just take these things for granted. But some of us who are not so wealthy and hope to be wealthy and know they're going to be wealthy soon, we can just prepare you for some of the things that you need to enjoy. If you're traveling in first class to go anywhere, we will just let you know what airlines are the most luxurious of the bunch. So we start with Singapore Airlines, and they have private suites, double bed option for couples in a plane. Can you imagine that? A plane that big that they can give you a double bed for you and your husband or your significant other? Singapore Airlines promises to do that for you. Now, you have to be traveling first class now. Okay? Let's get that straight. Anyway, Emeritus. They have suites and they are done in leather. And there's one called Cathay Pacific. Never heard of that one. That's another one of the luxurious first class cabins. Etihad. That's another one. Etihad. Listen to this now. They have what's called a diamond first class with a private chef that whips up any meal you want right there on the plane. Ooh, 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 ooh. That will be my next plane. Yes, write it down. It's called Etihad. Etihad. Maybe that means something about diamonds and private chef or something. Yeah, diamond first class, private chef. And they only fly from New York to Abu Dhabi. So unless you're planning to go to Abu Dhabi from New York, you can scratch that one. But I'm sure they're going to expand soon when they see businesses booming. And then, of course, you have the Virgin America. They have touchscreen entertainment system that keeps food and drinks at your fingertips, I say. Then there is Virgin Atlantic. Upper class suites and seats become beds, and they have what's called a snooze zone. That means you can make no noise. It's just for sleeping. And then you have another one called ANA. They have 23-inch TV screens, LCD no doubt, monitors. And they have what's called a Kaiseki feast on their airline. So you might want to check that one out if you want to have a feast of a name that you never heard before, Kaiseki. And you have another one called Asiana. They have suites with beds 7 foot long. So all the basketball players and the football players and those long guys, they should have no trouble on this airline. And they now have the largest screens, 32 inches. 32-inch monitors. And then there's one more called Ilal. And Ilal serves the best wine. So if you're a wino, or you just simply love wine. I call all my girlfriends who love wine winos. So it's not a bad thing. It's just a friendly term on my part. Ilal serves the best wine. So those are the airlines that if you wish to travel first class and you're going on a long journey, I promise you your trip will be so much nicer and so much sweeter. But I would love the one with a private chef to cook me and whip me up anything I want, anything I request. Okay, all right. So, reminding you and thanking you again that this is the Diana Wright Show live online. We welcome you from around the world and in the United States. And I'm going to remind you of a few things right now before I continue. I'm reminding you of April 30th, which is International I Love Me Day. And it is I Love Me Day because the crusade of this show and me, Diana Wright, is to go around the world and convince you that loving yourself is the first place to start no matter what you want to achieve in this life, in this world, because God put you here. And He commands that you love Him with all your heart, your soul, your mind. And I command you to love yourself with all your soul, your mind, and your spirit and your heart. Because you see, when you love yourself, you can actually conquer all the demons, all the naysayers, all the negative people in your life and embrace the positive ones. Get out of your depression right now. Stop being so blue and come back into the green, the land of the living, where people celebrate life. Life is actually beautiful if you make it so. Create your own happiness and stop depending on others to make you happy. Stop wishing for someone else's life. Stop trying to be someone else by changing your looks and your hair and your eyes and your whatever. Be who you are. Be authentic. Be the person that God made you to be. You are an individual and there's no one else on earth like you. There's one of me and one of you, and no one else is like you. You're unique and you're wonderfully made by God. So I pep you and praise you and ask you to lift up yourself today and go into nothing but green space. Look into the mirror. Your iPhone, your smartphone becomes a mirror when it's off, and tell yourself, I love me, male or female, and teach your children to love themselves, because that's important. So come April 30th, it's declared by this show, International I Love Me Day. And I just simply wonder, when will I be invited to 60 Minutes to speak my piece? Like the lady that was on Sheryl Sandberg. We'll get to her in a minute. Because she's saying, men, if you help more around the house, you will get some more sex. She's also saying that women are afraid to lead. Hell no, I'm not afraid to lead. I want to lead everything. If I was born here in America, I would want to become the president of the United States. So I have no qualms about leading. Everybody always says I'm too bossy anyway, including my mother. So I don't have any issues with that. But if you do, her message is a little confusing because one minute she's saying that, you know, choosing a husband is like choosing a career and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to get to her after I finish here. Because before I get to her, I want to ask you this. Have you loved yourself today? Have you looked in the mirror this morning and tell yourself, I love me? Are you carrying yourself in a manner that would make you want to love yourself? Have you, through the journey of this show, stopped looking down on yourself and telling yourself that I don't need to be fixed? There's nothing wrong with me. I am good. I'm wonderful. I'm beautiful. Have you done that? Now, we have done over 50 shows so far, so you should be getting there. I want you to get there, because when April 30th comes, I want you to celebrate internationally the International I Love Me Day crusade on the Diana Wright Show live online. And I wish no one to steal my idea, because I do have a CD that I did years ago, before all my tragedies, and it's entitled I Love Me. It's also copyrighted. Thank you very much. So just in case you're out there trying to replicate what I'm saying or think I'm getting the idea from someone else, no. I actually have a CD with music and everything, mixed and done by Errol Moore. Yes, but because of my tragedy, I could not pursue that because I had bigger fish to fry, if you want to call it that. And a bigger purpose. And a bigger miracle from God to deal with, despite the tragedy and the devastation. So as you await my book, Deadly Negligence, will be on shelves soon. You can pre-order the book if you want at 561-228-1921. You can invite me to speak at your function, at your church, at your gathering, whatever you call it. And I'll be there. So, we remind you of that date. Another date to consider and circle on your calendars and save that date is October 5th, where Save a Life Jamaica Foundation will be having a great function for you to actually contribute to saving lives. Not talk about it, not think about it, not, ponder about it, but actually contribute to saving lives. Okay, moving right along here. Daylight saving time. I just don't like this daylight saving time thing. Do you? I don't. I really don't like it because it throws you off. Your computer clock in your head is just mixed up. Because this morning I'm getting up and it's dark. Yeah, it's dark because I lost an hour sleep. Had a hell of a time falling asleep last night. I don't know what happened. Maybe I was just hungry, I think. But anyway, why don't they just leave the time where it is and let's just enjoy it the way it is and where it normally is? Some countries and some states in America does not observe daylight saving time. I hope you know that. I'm going to actually research it and give you the exact states that does not set that clock forward or backward. They're not springing forward and they're not backing up. They're just leaving the time just the way it is. And I would love that. Because I'm tired of readjusting my brain and my body to this daylight saving time and losing my whole hour of sleep for that. Did you lose an hour this morning? I'm sure you did, because I'm not the only person. And be honest about the whole thing. Don't be lying now. You did. And you woke up and said, oops. Like I woke up this morning and I was going, it can't be time to wake up already. It's too dark outside. But it was time to wake up and get the ball rolling on a Monday morning. So I hope that you will survive this day and you'll make up the sleep as the days go along. Yeah, I'm going to try to make mine up. See, I'm not a day sleeper, so I can't nap in the daytime. I like to go to my bed and go to sleep and wake up fresh in the morning. So anyway, that's my rant about daylight saving time. I don't like it, and I wish they would just stop it, because I don't think it saves anything, because it's darker in the morning, so you have to turn the light on. And in the evening, even though you don't have to turn the light on so early, you still have to turn it on in the morning. So what are we saving? They claim it was saving some energy and all that stuff, but I'm not so sure about that. I think they need to revisit that one, just like how they need to revisit the TSA's decision to allow small knives to go on airplanes. I would not want to be flying on any planes with no crazy people with little knives. They come, you know how much damage you can do with a little knife? Same damage as a box cutter. It might not be as fast, but you can do damage. Those poor flight attendants, my goodness. I see why they're angry, and those flight marshals. That's just making their jobs a little more difficult. So the TSA need to go back. Well, Mr. Schumer from New York, the senator from New York, is already calling them to take that thought and go back with it someplace. So come April 25th, we will see if that is actually enacted. I hope it isn't, because I think it's stupid. If you're still asking me to take off my shoes and my jacket and my hat, then you need not be allowing any knives on the plane. And if you're asking me to only carry my cosmetics in a little thing like this, then you need not have no knives. Go back, TSA. What is your problem? You need to change that. Okay. Alrighty. Wow. It's almost time to go. So I'll deal with Miss Sheryl Sandberg later on this evening. Everyone is taking her on. I don't think we need to take her on that much. Yes, she said some things that are, I think she said it because she's privileged. If she was not privileged, her book would not be featured on 60 Minutes. Okay? If she was not head of Facebook, coming from Google, with a powerful husband and brother and all those other people, she would not have been on 60 Minutes when her book just came out. Yes, it was International Women's Week, International Women's Day last week. But just think about it. Yes, she worked hard to get into Harvard, but she went to Harvard because of her ability. But she met a lot of people at Harvard that would not be in your path and my path if we just went to a regular college in Queens or in Florida or anywhere in the country for that matter. She earned and became rich from Google, then now at Facebook, even though Facebook's IPO kind of just plummeted, even though it's kind of trying to come back to life. But even then, the things she speak about, I think her message was a little confusing for me, because yes, she was smart, and yes, she went to Harvard, and yes, she met all those wonderful rich people that go to Harvard, some of them, and she's exposed to a different world. And even when she was offered a job with Google to be part of the management team, she was the type that wanted to refuse it. And even when she was in high school, and they have those things in high school that most likely to be successful or whatever they call it, she told her friend who was on the magazine team not to put her in there or not to say that. So I think she's suffering from her own insecurities and trying to empower women for not, or asking them not to have her type of insecurities. I'm one of those people who don't. I've always been confident. Always knew what I wanted to do, what I was going to be, and where I wanted to be, until God said, boom, there's a tragedy for you. You got to deal with this. That's unimaginable. And somewhere, somehow, some way, each and every one of us get to that place. Because I had all my plans out. And my achievements were right in line. The Diana Wright Show started in Jamaica. Was the most successful show in the history of television in Jamaica. It went around the Caribbean. Went to London, was successful. But then, boom, something happens to throw you off your course. And you have to stop and deal with that course. But insecurity, not one of my traits. Inability to lead, not one of my traits. She says women are to blame themselves because they, just don't know how to lead. I don't know about that. But we'll get deeper into that conversation when we come back this evening at 8 o'clock, right here on the Diana Wright Show live online. Before I go, I plead and ask you please to like us on Facebook and give us a thumbs up. And if you'd like to hear anything discussed, because I'm planning also to, in the evenings, talk a lot about love and romance and what you need to do and what you don't need to do, and just want to hear your thoughts about how you handle relationships. Because what is it that women really want anyway? Some of us ask for things and when we get it, we kick it to the curb. Or, some of us want a nice guy, but when we get a nice guy, we really want a rebel. So what do you want? And anyone out there that's listening to my voice and watching me on this Diana Wright Show live online, if you have the air of Jamaican Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller, please ask her. I beg her. I plead with her. I ponder, and I will do anything she asks if she simply reinstate that pavilion to Lawrence Rowe. He deserves it. Not because he's my friend, not because I know him, but because I believe that he should be honored for being one of the greatest batsmen. And to all the other rebels, as they call them, that went to South Africa, I hope their countrymen and government will reconsider and try to fix a pain and a hurt that they cause all these guys. I will continue my crusade of that with this show also. I have nothing to gain or nothing to lose actually either. I just like to stand up for justice, and I hate injustice. I simply do. My grandmother always tells me hate is a strong word, but it is a right word at this particular time. I hate injustice. And I will do anything I can to fix this and to make it right. So I hope that the guy who organized the tour 30 years ago, if he's not alive, somebody for him must be alive. I'll find him. And you should try to find him too. Make your voices be heard. And stop living in this glass house, acting as if you're all perfect and anything. Because who are we to judge those guys for going to play cricket? Something that they have a talent for, given to them by God. Because I believe that people like LeBron James and, Lawrence Rowe and all those guys, they got a gift from God. Because how many of us can go out there and bat no ball? Or how many of us can put those ball in the basket? I used to play netball and I used to be able to put some in, but nothing. That talent to me was not God-given. So, who are we to judge? Let us not judge, and please, whomever you hold a grudge for, against, whatever, for the past 30 years, give it up. Call the person up and forget about it. Move on. And for those of you who are down and depressed today, I invite you to come out of the blue and into the green. And thank you for watching the Diana Wright Show live online. We'll see you again, and we ask you to join us this evening at 8. love.